Hello everybody, GL1 here. Welcome to the premier online toy museum. And today I'm going to talk to you about hadrosaurs. So all of these dinosaurs right here are part of the hadrosaur family, one way or another, and they're all Cretaceous dinosaurs. So Cretaceous, I made a chart here because it's fun to kind of figure out where everything is placed. So the Cretaceous is the last time period of dinosaurs, and it's actually the longest time period. So the Cretaceous started at 145 million years ago, all the way to the end of the Cretaceous 66 million years ago. So all of the hadrosaurs existed within this time period. Before that, that's when you have Jurassic and Triassic, and then you had that massive Permian extinction where like over 90% of everything died. What I have on this chart here is, I'll go through it a little bit later, but I show you all these different categories of animals and how long they existed according to what we have found so far. All right, so getting to the hadrosaurs. All right, so I ordered these dinosaurs in order of how long ago they were. And actually, I want to tell you something about dinosaurs, because a lot of people will say, well, how do you tell the difference between a dinosaur and an ancient reptile? Because you have crocodiles, crocodiliforms, things that are kind of like crocodiles, and then you have flying reptiles, pterosaurs, pterodon, pterodactyl, right? Quetzalcoatlus. Those are not dinosaurs. They are reptiles, and then you also have that fly, and then you have aquatic reptiles. So you have mosasaur and Liopleurodon and Kronosaurus, which I'll be going through all of those too, and doing shows on them. They are not dinosaurs. So one of the simplest ways, if you have the skeleton in front of you of a dinosaur, say you're at a museum, and you look at the pelvis, look at the top of the pelvis, and if you see the vertebrae on the back are actually, the bones are fused in to the pelvis, like they're fused, attached, okay? That's a dinosaur. That's one of the features that dinosaurs have. All right, so that is a very simple way to be able to tell the difference, because ancient turtles and mosasaurs and flying reptiles, they don't have that. Okay, so that out of the way. So we go back 130 million years ago, and we have Iguanodon. Now, everybody probably has heard of Iguanodon. It's, I think, one of the earliest dinosaurs that we learn about as kids. And a lot of times, when the toy came out, like when I was a kid, it was upright on its back legs, and it had more of a duck-billed face. And some dinosaurs do have a very duck-billed face, and that's why hadrosaurs are often thought of as duck-billed dinosaurs. But Iguanodon here did not have the duck bill, and it was named Iguanodon because when they found the teeth, they thought it was a giant iguana. The teeth looked like iguana teeth, but they were 20 times larger. Now, Iguanodon was a huge dinosaur, actually. It was 36 feet long. So that's the length of some T-Rexes, and 9,000 pounds, which is a T-Rex about 14,000 pounds or more. So just to give you an idea. It also it's known for its thumb spike. Now, the toy doesn't really make it real obvious, the thumb spike. You have this spike here. I don't know what they're thinking of the thumb. Thumbs on, animals are on the inside of their chest, and so that would have been this one. But when they didn't make that stick out. So when they found the thumb spike, they thought it was a horn for its nose. And then later they found that it's a thumb spike, and they think it's either for digging or for defense. Who knows, right? But Iguanodon was found in Belgium and France. So that's the earliest one, 130 to 122 million years ago. Then we move on to Ouranosaurus. This dinosaur toy was actually quite difficult to find. Actually, to tell you about this toy, I couldn't find this toy at all. I lucked out. I found this at a a toy store. Actually, it makes sound. I think the sound is gone. Here's your little code thing there. But yeah, the batteries have died. And they all take A13, batteries, and you can get them at the dollar store. It takes 3. They all take 3. All right, so Tyrannosaurus was very difficult to find as a toy, but once again, Kohl's came through. Tyrannosaurus is not. I want to make a point that not all of these toys are always to scale as adults. That's what I wanted to say. Because if you look at the Tyrannosaur here, it's definitely, the toy is bigger than the Iguanodon, but it's not. This dinosaur was 23 to 27 feet long and 5,000 pounds. Now, there are some estimates that say it was twice as heavy as that, but not on Wikipedia. And I don't want to go with anything that's not Wikipedia because a lot of those things haven't maybe been researched as well. So initially, Tyrannosaurus was thought to be closely related to Iguanodon because it does have a thumb spike, though not as large. But then further study found that it's more closely related to Hadrosauridae. Now, Iguanodon and Tyrannosaurus, they are hadrosaurs, but they are part of the larger group of Hadrosauridae, but not directly related to Hadrosaurus. Mattel hasn't made a Hadrosaurus toy yet. So Tyrannosaurus, 125 million years ago, it's known for its sail here on the back, kind of like Spinosaurus. But they're not sure if this sail was used for temperature regulation, if it was used for maybe, showiness, like, males or females trying to show, who's better looking or more powerful. They also think that maybe because it is kind of thick, the actual vertebrae go up that high, that maybe it stored a lot of fat, and so it could use that for energy storage. All right. Well, a little bit more recent than that is Iani. Now, this toy is a recent toy, and that's why I had to do this show, is because there have been, recent toys that come out, and then I always want to put them in context. So Iani is kind of a transitional animal that transitioned between, I guess, some of the earlier, more primitive hadrosaurs and then more the advanced ones that came out or that evolved millions of years later that pretty much took over and existed all the way to the end of the dinosaurs. So Iani was 99 million years ago. It's named after the Roman god of transition, Janus. I don't know how Iani and Janus, their names are related, but there's a lot of relations like that. And it was thought to be about 10 feet long and about 100 pounds, but all they have found is a skull. So they can kind of estimate based on the skull and what they know about reptiles. But these things are not really exact. Like, they don't know that whether it really, because it is related to a hadrosaur, they give it 4 fingers. They can tell that it was likely bipedal by how the skull, where the foramen magnum is and how it would attach to the vertebrae. So they can tell that it was more bipedal. And a lot of dinosaurs did start out bipedal before they went quadruped, like actually the ceratopsians. So like the ancestors of Triceratops were actually bipeds. All right. Now, moving on. This is another new dinosaur toy that's come out. And this is Maiasauria up here, big dinosaur. And its name means good mother. And the reason they named it that is because it was the first dinosaur found with a bunch of juvenile dinosaurs and eggs. So they believe that's a family group. It was around 86 to 70 million years ago. So all the dinosaurs disappeared at 66 million years ago when the meteor struck. So, it's 4 million years away as far as what we found. These are always estimates. I mean, as they find things, sometimes they can change the date. But, the dinosaur makes some, noise when you move the tail down, and you can rotate the head around. doesn't have a mouth that opens or closes. I think it'd be good if they did make that, because then you could, put grass in there and have it bite it. It does have lateral articulation of the shoulders. What's nice is that, they're really making it obvious that these animals were somewhat bipedal if they needed to be, if they needed to get up higher. They had big, heavy, strong leg bones and muscles and lighter front legs. And maybe if they needed to run, maybe they would run bipedally, it is thought. It is a 30-foot dinosaur and 8,000 pounds. So again, to put that in context, a female elephant is about 9,000 pounds, somewhere around that. It was found in Northwest U.S. and Canada. So also there's, let's say again, the T-Rex, 14,000 pounds, so about, a little more than half the size. All right, then we have a dinosaur that we've seen a lot. I actually remember being in Target and some kid really wanting to find, I want Parasaurolophus. And I'm like, really? Who cares? But, all right, so I really grew up not caring about these dinosaurs because I like, of course, things with spikes and things that eat things. But I've come to really appreciate these a lot more. So this dinosaur was found 76 to 73 million years ago in Northwest America and maybe even China. There's some very closely related skeletal remains in China of this dinosaur. It is bipedal and quadrupedal, and it is thought that they lived in really massive herds. Sometimes they estimate those herds to be 10,000. I really don't know what they're basing that on, but just throwing that number out there. 30 feet long, 10,000 pounds, so bigger than Maiasauria. Of course, famous for this hollow structure on its head that may have been used for making sound. And the batteries are not doing too great, but the same kind of articulation. They did make a Hammond collection of that one. If you want one that has even more articulation, I do have the Hammond collection one as well. But I try to group things. I don't always want to put the Hammond out with the regular collection. All right, now we get really some big dinosaur, hadrosaur, the Edmontosaurus, 73 to 66 million years ago, so to the end of the dinosaurs. Now the average size, 39 feet, 11,000 pounds, which is huge. That's, T-Rex range. But they found a huge specimen that was 49 feet long, and they think 3 times as heavy, 34,000 pounds. So to give you an idea, the Triceratops, which is the largest of the ceratopsians, 26,000 pounds. The largest elephant ever found was 24,000 pounds, and that's in the Smithsonian, right as you walk in, the Smithsonian Natural History Museum. So if you ever have been there and see that, that's what 24,000 pounds looks like, which is about 10,000 pounds larger than the average African male elephant. So this is 34,000 pounds, okay? So more than twice the size of a T-Rex, like 20,000 pounds larger. And it was found in Edmonton, Canada. And same articulation, move the tail, rotate the head. It did make sound. But, you can see they all have the same body type. They have the, longer back legs, very strong, and smaller front legs. Although this one, the front legs look a little bit more sturdy. And the code is on the bottom because this is an older toy. I've talked about that before. The newer toys, they went where they started putting the codes on the back where you'd pull it up and then you'd have the code, which I think is better because, one, it's easier to scan. And if you play with this in the dirt, you're going to get the code all messed up and dirty. But they've gone back on several new toys. They've gone back to putting the code on the bottom foot. And Minqaria, yes, they've gone back to that. So Minqaria is a hadrosaur, and you can see it's much smaller, and it was much smaller. So this one actually represents that the scale is correct, that it is much smaller. And the reason for that is it was found in Morocco in Africa, and it was an isolated population. It was 11 feet long and 550 pounds, which is about the size of a lion. Okay, so much smaller than something that's 10,000 pounds, 34,000 pounds, right? Much smaller, not even half of 1,000, right? And it was described as recently as last year, 2024 is when, I mean, they find these things a little bit earlier, but as they study the bones and everything, it was, named last year. If you'll notice, it has just two toes, prominent toes in the front, and it looks like it has a little bit of a thumb spike, right, in there. So, kind of that Iguanodon, vestigial toe. And actually, it's kind of spiky, so, you could pretend it's actually digging, right? And this dinosaur also goes all the way to the end of the dinosaurs, so 68 to 66 million years ago. And its name, Minqaria, means duck beak. So it has a beak like a duck. Okay, so, all right. So that's what I have to show you for those guys. All right, hope you enjoyed that. And then I'm going to show you my chart I made here, because I think it's important to always put all of these things in perspective. You hear a lot about, or when you're reading these books, you hear about, the Cambrian, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous, and just to get them all in your head, like, when were these things and what was going on? I mean, and I could, mark this chart up so much more. But the Cambrian, we're going back 538 to 485 million years ago. So there were animals then, but we got to move way forward before we get to some things that are familiar. Hadrosaurs, Dimetrodon, those are still not dinosaurs, okay? So we're still dealing with ancient reptiles. We don't get the dinosaurs until we get into the Triassic. Actually, the early Triassic is when we see our first dinosaurs, like around 240 million years ago. And you still have some ancient reptiles. Of course, you have reptiles that are not related to dinosaurs, just like we do today. Today, we have lizards, snakes, tuatara. Tuatara is just one kind of lizard. It looks kind of like a four-legged Godzilla, and I believe the 1998 Godzilla movie was based on the nuclear explosions causing the tuatara to turn into a Godzilla-like creature. Okay, but you can see you have the lungfish goes all the way back to 400 million years ago. Frogs are somewhere around 370, 380 million years ago. Salamanders are a little bit more recent. Frogs came before salamanders. So they're right there, probably about 340 million years ago, somewhere around that, salamanders. I even looked up, just for fun, Godzilla. Godzilla was actually supposed to start right at the beginning of the Permian. So 299 million years ago, that's when Godzilla started. So, if Godzilla's still around today, quite a successful animal, as successful as salamanders, frogs, and the lungfish, because there still are some lungfish. All right. So anyway, you can make a chart like this and put all kinds of things on it. What I have on here are the crocodilomorphs. You may have seen my show on that. Deinosuchus, Caprosuchus, Rausuchus, Prestosuchus. And those are all giant crocodile-like creatures. Deinosuchus maybe 40 feet long, and that was 83 to 72 million years ago. So I just try to put them, it's a Cretaceous animal, Caprosuchus, 95, a little bit earlier. So you can make a chart like this, and, I'm giving you plenty of time, right, to copy this stuff down. And then you can, kind of put your dinosaurs that you have your collection on here to get a feel for all that. So, all right, I will be back with more dinosaur education based on all these really cool toys that have been coming out lately. Talk to you soon. Take care.